In this video, I'm going to show you what I consider to be quite a bland image into an image that I actually quite like after I edited it. So it's always worth trying that little edit and spending some time. Let's dive right in. This is the Korpach boat wreck, and it's a well photographed boat up in Fort William, and for me, I actually spent most of my time standing here photographing Ben Nevis, and afterwards when I got home and looked at the photographs, I wished I had used a long exposure for them, because the mist, as you see here, was rolling in over Ben Nevis, and it would have been a lovely image, but that's the next time we got up. So I'll go on with this image. This wasn't my favourite images, it wasn't my favourite composition. It's one of these shots that you go in and you take because you are there. For me, I would have rather there's a small stream across from where this was taken, and you could get the fast flowing water coming in as a foreground element, and then the boat there. But there was a few people there and there was a family there as well, so we didn't bother going there. What I'm going to do with this is show you my final edit for this and how I got there. As I say, not my most favourite composition, but it's one of these shots you've got to get before you go and explore. So I'll dive right into this right now. First thing I'm going to do in here is I am going to go in and level the horizon. So I'm going to go in and grab the horizon there and take it across, and that levels the horizon for me, so at least I know I'm working from an even keel, so to speak. Forgive the pun there. But what I'm going to do is I'm also going to crop this down. There's too much foreground here for the boat. The sky in the boat for me was what the composition was going to be about, and as you can see, this is the actual original raw file for this before we take it into Luminar. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this down to a 16:9. And I want more of the sky in it, so I'm going to take it up to around there, and I'm also going to bring it in because I want the boat to be the main part of it. So I'm balancing it out here and just using what is there to get the elements from this. So I take it down there and I'm taking away more of the foreground. That's given us the leading lines in here, and you can see the golden spiral takes us in up here where the light is, where it would lead us to anyway. We're always drawn to the light. So that's me. I'm quite happy at that for this, and I'm just going to click in the middle there. So that's our new composition for this. From here, what I'm going to do is I am going to lift the shadows just to give some more definition into the boat, and I'm actually going to take it up to 100%. I am also going to lift the exposure slightly because I want some more detail in here because of what I'm going to be doing afterwards. And you can see the sky is quite a moody sky here. We're going to use that and we're going to play with that. So I am going to go in and I'm going to take that boat out. So I'll just go in here to the healing brush and I'll take that out. I'll just let it take it out as it sees it. No, I won't, because that is terrible looking. So I'm going to take it over there, trying to match it up along that edge there. So I'll leave it at that. If I increase that there, I'll take that one out as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. We won't see that in the final image, but that's me taking out any of the small distractions that I wanted. So that's what we're going to take into Luminar. Right click, edit in, Luminar 4. Edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments, edit. So here we are in Luminar 4.3, and what I'm going to do is edit this to an image that I'm quite happy with after not really paying too much attention to this image because I've seen it so many times. Although I hadn't shot it myself, I've actually seen it so many times. So this was just basically a snapshot while I was shooting over here, which I really enjoyed shooting. But I'm going to edit this now and bring it up to an image that I'm actually quite happy with. The end result I was really quite happy with. So here we go. And the first thing I am going to do is AI accent, and I'm going to dial that in. With the AI accent, you see that the sky lightened up, which is a good thing as well, because it also helps lighten the boat. The accent is a global edit. It affects the entire image. Sky enhancer. It dials back in the blue, as you see that, but it also adds back in the drama that was taken out with AI accents. So it's a kind of an even play for this one, and it actually works quite well. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get in with the AI structure, and I'm only going to apply this to certain areas. So I'm going to apply it globally, and then I'm going to paint it in using the brush and the mask. And I'm going to get it to a point I'm quite happy, which will be around there. Then I'm going to go in and edit the mask, and although that has affected the sky because it's a global edit, I don't want it to at this stage. So I'm going to go in brush, and I'm just going to quite deliberately paint in here. So there we go, and that brings up some of the boat, and we'll just add it into some of the stones in the foreground and some of these bushes here. And because it has a feather on it, and I'm only painting at 50%, it's not going to affect the entire image too much. It's just going to be nice and subtle. So that's that one there. That'll do for that. Next thing is I'm going to get and play with the colour, and if you watch this channel you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of blue in certain cases, and this is one of them. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull back the blues straight away, and only doing it via the saturation. That will help create some more mood in here, because you'll notice it still leaves some cyan in here, and it still leaves the odd hint of blue in it. Next thing I am going to do is I need to add some details. So I'm going into the details enhancer, and I'm just going to push that very slightly, just to add it to the boat and add it to the foreground. Although that's a global edit, the details that it's added in the sky are negligible at that amount. Denoise I could go in. If I zoom in here, you will notice that this is shot with the X-T3. This image here hasn't been through Iridian X yet. I thought I would just use it for the edit. So we're looking at that there. That's not going to bother me too much for what we're going to do with this. So next thing I want to do, I can at this point go in and add the denoise and luminosity denoise and colour denoise, but it'll soften the image too much. This isn't being printed anyway, so it's okay just to go through with an edit for this. So I'm going to jump into layers. Although I could do it in the one layer, I'm going to jump into layers. Next thing I am going to do is I'm going to go down into the Pro mode, and I am going to get into Dodge and Burn, and I'm going to start painting. And for this I'm actually going to zoom in and do it, but at first what I'm going to do is I am just going to paint so that I can see the entire image, because if I paint this too much at first, it's going to affect the entire balance of the image. So I'm going to paint the light. As you can see, the light's coming in here, so I'm going to enhance that slightly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back to around 11. And I'm just going to paint in there. So that should just lighten that ever so slightly, and down there. And if I go into the shadow, that is okay. And the reason it's okay is I'm going to go in later and paint that back in. I'm also going to increase some of it in here, but for this I'm going to drop it again. I like my subtle edits here, except in this case the sky, so I'm just going to lighten that slightly there, and not the entire foreground. You can see where the sun is catching the image. That actually might be one too much there. I'll go back in here, take that down, and maybe paint over there. We'll just see. Yep, I'll get away with that. I want to enhance Korpak in the background here, the small houses, so I'm just going to gently paint, and I'm doing this with the mouse for the sake of this video. Normally I would do it with the tablet, and there we go. The other areas that I'm going to paint, and you notice I've got the strength down. If I paint on here, you'll see how much that is. Even at the strength of 9%, I'm going to erase that one. There we go, we'll take that one back out. Take it back to lighting. So I've got to be very careful here because of what I'm about to do. So I'm going to take it down to about 4. And I'm just going to paint down there. I just want to emphasise the odd highlight on the boat itself. Take that in there, round there, just down there. And this, because that's the minimum size the brush goes to. If I zoom in, I can work it there. So what I'm doing, if I zoom in again, you can see that my brush is still at 10, but because the image has been zoomed in, it compensates for it. So that's a good thing to do if you only want to affect certain small areas. And what I'll do is I'll do this rather quick so that the video doesn't drag on. And I'll go down here, and I'm only painting on the parts where the light is reflecting off. If this was being printed, I would have taken my time more when shooting it to avoid any of these in here and along here, but I knew that this wasn't my focus for this shoot, so I'll just go in there, and I've been round there, just check for other areas, highlight that slightly and it'll help a nice wee contrast out there. But I'm not painting in any areas that don't have the light. I'm working with what I have. Just touch of light there, touch of light there, down there. I'm not going to paint this. That takes up quite a bit of the frame, so I don't want to paint in that. Down there and take that. So you get the idea of this. I'll zoom back out. You can see from there, I'll just click done for this just now. So you can see from there what's already happened with it. What I'll do is I'll fill in the shadow slightly. So I'm going to darken that. I'm going to take the brush size up. And I'm just going to paint in there. I am still at the lower end of the strength. I could possibly push that to around there because I don't want to create yet. That's actually okay at that. I'm going to get a nice subtle contrast. If there's such a thing, between the shadow and the light here and the boat without darkening everything in. So what I'll do is I'll click done, and then I'll show you the before and after. So that's what we started with, and that's what we're at now. That's a massive difference in a relatively short space of time, and it's actually, for me, once I was editing this image, I actually preferred the edit to the shoot. So what I'm going to do now is deal with the sky, and then that's it, done. Okay, as I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and adjust the exposure coming in from the sky. So I'm going to set the orientation for this, and I'm going to drag that back. And I don't want it to be affecting the boat too much, so I am going to go around about there, and I'll just take that back out, and I'll go set orientation, and then I'll zoom back out. And if I flick that on and off, you'll see the difference that has made already. And I'm really glad I edited this image because it changed how I felt about the actual photograph itself. I didn't like it when I took the image. As I say, it was just a snapshot. And then after I come in and edited the image, I actually prefer it. Hopefully you enjoyed that video, and hopefully it lets you see that sometimes just with a little consideration what you can do with your images. Again, the end result, I do like the end result of that one. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic image by any means at all, but I really enjoyed just pushing myself that little bit to edit something that I didn't really want to edit. If I was up there again, I would go across the streams and I would shoot low to cut out the foreground elements so that we had a long exposure of the stream, not too much in the foreground, and then the boat and then Ben Nevis and the mountains in the background. That for me would have been a better shot. So that's what I would do the next time I go up there, because I'm sure we'll be back up there again, as there's a few places I want to revisit and reshoot. As I said in the previous video, I'm going to be taking you on location and tell you my considerations when I'm shooting an image. We went up to the Jacobite train, which is the Harry Potter train, to shoot that coming across the viaduct, and I was drawn more to the autumnal colours in the background than I was the actual train itself. So I went up to shoot one thing and got distracted by the colours, because the autumnal colours just now, we only get once a year to shoot them, so the train I can go up and shoot at any point at all. I just won't have the nice colours in the background. But that's what the next video is going to be. It's going to be up at the Glenfinnan Viaduct. So hopefully you'll tune back in for that one. And remember, stay safe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.